Geek Vibes Live is rated G for geek.
All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another fabulous episode of Geek Vibes Live interview. For today's sesh, my name is Tia. I'm your host, and I have with me Stargirl's very own Neil Hopkins. How are you this evening, Neil?
I'm really good. How are you?
I'm doing really well. It is amazing to speak with you. What time is it, by the way, for you? I guess you're on the other side of the country.
yeah, it's 4:30 here. So, where are you?
I'm in New York currently, so it's 7:30. But it's the summer. It's nice out, so everything's all good. But first, let me start off by saying congratulations on such the amazing reception for Stargirl. I have seen critic after critic just say wonderful things about it. So, I mean, how does that feel for you?
It's really awesome. It's exciting. We waited so long for this show to come out. You know, we finished shooting. We started shooting in 2019 in beginning of March, and we shot till September 5th. And so it's been a long wait, but it's worth it. And I'm actually really glad it came out when it did during the quarantine because, you know, it's perfect timing, you know. Everybody needs a little escapism right now.
Oh, absolutely. I remember reporting on Stargirl when it was filming, who it was casting, and it has been a while. But as you said, it's kind of the perfect moment for it to be playing at this moment. How are you dealing, by the way, with the current quarantine that is just rippling our country right now?
Been fun, I wouldn't say. I have a 6-year-old and a 9-year-old, and they got pulled out of... Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, sorry, something weird happened. The quarantine has not been fun, but it's been better than a lot of people, I think. You know, we're healthy, and I try to count my blessings on that because, you know, we have a friend who died in New York of COVID, but it's been... it's affected a lot of people in a lot of different ways, but I think, you know, when I count my blessings, you know, we're healthy and we're okay and we're safe, and I don't love it, but it is what it is.
Yeah, at least you and your family are safe, so that's good. And you guys kind of have the pleasure of sitting back and really just watching sort of the show just make a lot of people happy during this quarantine, which is great. So on Stargirl, which plays both on the DC Universe app and the CW, you play Lawrence, quote-unquote, Larry Crock, a.k.a. Sportsmaster. So for those who are listening who may not be overly familiar with this character, how would you describe Larry/Sportsmaster?
Well, Larry is, you know, an alpha male. He loves sports. He loves physical fitness. He loves self-improvement. He loves his family. He loves his daughter. And Sportsmaster is a stone-cold psychopath. So there's a little bleed over between the character of Crusher Croc and the character of Sportsmaster for sure. But, you know, as a citizen of Blue Valley, I think Croc he's pretty much on the level aside from murdering football coaches every so often. You know, he's got a business, he's got a gym, he helps a lot of people, and he's like genuinely passionate about it. And that's one of the things I love about the show is it actually like it takes villains and it shows their home life and it shows their families and it shows their lives as, you know, their alter egos, not just them coming in as a villain of the week, you know?
Yeah, that's something that you don't often expect from TV shows or even movies in the comic book genre. I mean, how is that for you getting into the character and kind of separating the the father, the pillar kind of the community, and then the stone cold psychopath villain that is Sportsmaster.
Well, I mean, it's just a fun character to play. I love dark humor, and Sportsmaster and Tigress live in that world of dark humor, and it's a joy to get to play a character, even a bad guy that is, I think, a funny character, but is also just a real badass. It's wearing the suit as Sportsmaster is obviously a very different feeling than wearing a tracksuit, which is what I always wear as Croc. It's a lot more comfortable to wear the tracksuit, I can tell you that. But it's so much fun to get to play this character because he's so energetic and he has so much passion, and he when he's Sportsmaster, he just gets to let all of his pent up frustration and he gets to like live out his dream of being like a super athlete.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I mean, the outfit looks very reminiscent almost as almost not a goalie, I would say, but definitely when you think of like your quintessential like person who has like sports gear, it kind of looks like that. He has the baseball bat with him. I have to ask about that epic fight in episode 6. And I guess spoilers for those who are listening who may not be up to episode 6 yet. But you
got to catch up.
You got to catch up, yeah. You had such an epic fight in episode 6. I mean, first of all, I have to ask, how much of that was you and how much of that was, say, like a stunt double?
Well, a lot of it was my stunt double, Paul O'Connor. They did the wire work and the dangerous stuff. They don't let you even try it. And because I'm masked, I'm an easy person to double. The other characters that don't have a mask are a little bit harder to double, but I wanted to do as much of it as I could, and I did as much of it as they allowed me to do. I practiced a lot with the bat. I practiced a lot of the moves that they showed us, and I got pretty good at it. But, when you're shooting a television series, it's so run and gun and fast, and there's just not a ton of time for filming these things. They bang out an episode in 8 days. So, when you have a 4-minute fight sequence with wires and exploding cars and CGI and all this stuff, they're already up against it. And so a lot of times they're just like, filming while you're filming something as Crusher. While I was filming something as Crusher, they had a second unit with our stunt doubles doing the really dangerous stuff in the parking lot. So we didn't even get to see some of that being filmed, which is funny. But I was happy to see that there was a good amount of me in there. But some of it, they just, they don't let you do it. They don't want you to get killed.
That is very true, because unfortunately, stunt doubles have been fatally injured in the past. So I can imagine that. And there were people injured on our show too, like not bad, wow. But I mean, there's always injuries, and the stuff that they were doing is, it's unlike anything I've ever seen, certainly on a television show. I mean, they were doing cinematic quality, like, stunts and sequences that were just mind-blowing. They would show us the previs beforehand. The stunt coordinator, Walter Garcia, they would mock up this whole previs with the stunt team to show you, like, okay, this is what the whole sequence is going to look like. And they've shot it all inside the sound stages, like before you've even gotten there. So they show you all the different stuff, and they show you the parts. Okay, this is stuff we're going to do, and this is stuff you can do. So it was so cool to be a part of something that big and to see the incredibly talented and creative stunt team at work, because they were really just, our jaws were on the floor every time they would do a stunt or every time they would show us what they had worked on and the crazy stuff that they came up with. They made it so cool, and it's just awesome to be a part of it, to get plugged into it any way you can. That it's so awesome to hear that Everything about Stargirl looks really great. And I think that maybe a lot of people weren't counting on Stargirl looking so good, being so good. And I have to ask, what do you think it is about the show Stargirl that really resonates with people and really just draws them in week after week?
I mean, the acting is all really good. The production value is super high for a TV show, but it's all about the writing and the acting. It's about the stories, the legacy of superhero and villain. It's about, like what I said before, where they humanize the villains. They humanize Icicle, they humanize Brainwave, they humanize Crusher and Paula. And a lot of shows don't delve into that side of it. So they give almost as much screen time to the villains as they do to the heroes, which is unusual. But one of the coolest things about it is just this sort of coming of age story, where you see this kid in a new environment that everybody can relate to, starting a new school and trying to make friends and trying to fit in and trying to, figure out, her life situation with her missing father and just trying to find her place in the world and realizing, wow, I'm actually, or at least believing that she's a part of this legacy. And it's a really exciting thing, I think, for young people to watch. And one of the things I love so much about it is that there's two generations. There's a generation of villains that are older, and, the older generation of heroes gets killed in the beginning of the pilot. But then there's this younger generation of heroes and villains, as you see in the last episode 7, where, you start wondering, like, are these kids going to be able to hack it? And are these kids in over their head? And clearly in episode 6, you see how in over their heads they are right off the bat with Sportsmaster and Tigress. So I think the underdog feel of the show is something that everybody resonates with. But when you have a 4-minute long badass fight sequence, I mean, it's hard not to love a show that has that and is able to pull that off.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for us comic book fans, seeing fight sequences being able to play out so flawlessly is something that kind of gets all of us excited when it comes to that.
Yeah.
And I think with Stargirl, also the background story of even the creation of Stargirl is something that I think touches a lot of people as well. So it is really interesting, and I'm happy to see all of the positive reaction to the show. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Now,
and that's the thing is, like, you work on the show and you never know how it's going to be received. You hope it's going to be a hit. You hope people are going to love it and gravitate toward it and, like, get it on the level that you get it. But you never know. It's always an unknown. So it's very gratifying to see that it's really resonating with a lot of people.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I had seen, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, because, not all sources online are accurate, but I had seen that prior to getting the role, you had not been aware of the character of Sportsmaster, but immediately dove into research as soon as you were cast.
Yeah, so when I read for it, I was a big comic book fan when I was like 11, 12 years old. I was really into Batman comics, and I loved Frank Miller's The Dark Knight. And at one point, I wanted to be a cartoonist. I'm an artist, and my friend and I I think we saw Batman in the theater like 9 times. It got to the point where we had to lie to our parents and say we were seeing The Abyss when we went and actually saw Batman for the 9th time. And it was an obsession. It was nothing short of that. We would buy the comics, my friend and I, and we would try to copy all the artwork and the comics because we were obsessed with it. But since that time, I haven't really been into comics, and so I didn't know about JSA. I didn't know about the golden age of DC. I was a fan of the Marvel movies, and I watched DC's The Flash and Arrow with my kid, and really enjoyed those shows, but didn't know about JSA, and I didn't know about Sportsmaster. And so when I went in and read for it, they didn't tell me it was Sportsmaster. I knew it was called Stargirl, but I didn't know about Stargirl. And I was shocked when I got the offer that, the deal memo comes through in your email and it tells you who you're playing, and it said Lawrence Crock /Sportsmaster. I was like, wait, this isn't the part that I read for. This is wrong. And then I was like, wait a sec, oh my God. So they don't tell you who you're reading for. And then you find out, oh my God, I'm playing a supervillain. This is the coolest thing in the world. And so I immediately looked up Sportsmaster, and I learned that he was originally created in 1941, which blew my mind. And he first appeared, I think, in a Green Lantern comic, and he appeared in Batman comics. And I got goosebumps because I was like, oh my God, this is the coolest thing ever. And also, Sportsmaster over the years has kind of been like a joke character. First of all, his name's Sportsmaster, which is like such a cornball 1940s, comic book name. And I love, by the way, that the show, comments on that, how corny all the names are, because they're these old, 1940s and 50s characters. And so they sound like they were created in the 1940s and 50s. But one of the brilliant things Jeff has done is he's taken these old golden age characters and he's reinvented them, and he's like bringing them to the fore now, which I think is such a brilliant thing. And so a lot of people are learning about, the JSA and the ISA and all these characters, and he's making them interesting and humanizing them. But yeah, I hadn't heard of him, and did a ton of research and started watching the Young Justice. And I was so excited. I was just so excited to get to be the first actor, in a live action thing to play Sportsmaster.
First of all, I think that it's so cool how into Batman you were, and I love the story of seeing it 9 times in the theater. I think that a lot of us can relate to that.
Yeah.
And it's, well, listen, James Wan and Jason Momoa made Aquaman cool, so it is perfectly possible to make these characters. Right, yeah.
Yeah, so Jeff Johns has a real knack for, taking characters that were not previously cool, like Sportsmaster, like Aquaman, like Shazam, and making them, like, really likable, cool, relatable, modern characters.
And it is cool that the show also is introducing the JSA, because I believe that I had read that that is going to play into the upcoming Black Adam movie. So I feel like the shows are kind of building the way towards all of that, towards the movies. But I'm not sure if you know this. Do you think that there is any chance in the future that the Stargirl show could potentially, say, cross over with the other CW shows, such as The Flash or Supergirl or any of those other shows?
I think it's definitely possible. I think that's the way. It's by design. I think it's, making it part of the Arrowverse, I think is it's setting the stage for future crossovers, and I don't want to give any spoilers away, but I feel like that's definitely part of the plan that Jeff Johns has in his brilliant mind, that we're not necessarily privy to it, even though we're on the show. They only tell us what we need to know.
I can imagine being very hush-hush about all of that. And I know that you don't want to give away any spoilers, but I do have to ask, what can us as fans expect from Sportsmaster in the rest of the series?
Oh man, I can't say anything because I don't want to tip the hat at all, or tip my hand at all. I don't want to get in trouble for saying something that I shouldn't say, but I think you will. If you've enjoyed the series thus far, I think you will really enjoy the rest of the series. That's about all I can say.
Yeah, absolutely. I do not want you to get in trouble at all. Not my intention. But what would you say was your favorite scene, say, besides the fight scene, to shoot?
My favorite scene besides the fight scene to shoot was the gym, the Rip City scene in episode 2 that I shot with Luke Wilson. And the reason it was so fun is because Greg Beeman, the director, he let us, and Jeff was very cool. Luke likes to improvise and sort of rewrite certain things and add, lines, and he has really good ideas, to his credit. He doesn't just do it for the sake of doing it. He does it like to add more touches on there, and a lot of them end up in the show, and they're really funny. And I got to do that in all those scenes that I shot with Luke, where we'd have the scene on the page, and Jeff would come, and me, Luke, and Jeff would sit there and talk about what if we did this, and what if I said this, and what if this. And it was really cool to get to do that. And so in episode 2, in the Rip City thing, like we got to improvise. We did like 6 different versions of that scene when he first walks in and we're talking to each other. And Greg had 2 cameras on us. So we had one on Luke and one on me, which is, that's like how Adam McKay shoots his comedies, so that if you ever catch anything in improv, you have it on both sides and you can use it. It's not something you have to repeat in different coverage. So Greg set up 2 cameras, and we got to riff on that scene, and then he would just feed us lines. He'd say, say this, say this, say this. It was so much fun. It was like working on a comedy. And Luke is just so game for all that stuff. And anything you throw at him, he'll roll with it, and he loves that stuff. So it made that scene very alive, and it made it so much fun for both of us as actors to relax into our roles and, throw out stuff. And stuff that we improvised ended up in the final cut. So there's just nothing more fun as an actor than to get to do stuff like that.
I can completely imagine that, the kind of freedom that comes along with it. That's really cool. Now, I can't imagine that Stargirl won't get a second season, but have you heard any rumors or anything of it getting renewed? I mean, I know, again, that's probably like spoilers over here.
I don't know anything, but I did a thing for the CW yesterday with the ISA members, and we did a Zoom thing. And when we were done, I said, "Hey, have you guys heard anything about if it's going to get renewed?" And what they told me is we're going to find out July 3rd. But that's all I know. I don't know one way or the other.
It's interesting that you mention Zoom. I feel like that has become the quintessential tool during the quarantine time. How strange is it going to be for you to kind of get back into a physical filming setting?
I mean, as long as it's safe and we're out of the COVID days, it's going to be an amazing feeling. I think we all are going to feel like hallelujah. It's just, but the problem is, who knows when we're going to get out of this? Who knows when COVID's going to finally go away? When we're going to have a vaccine? All that stuff. But filming is starting to resume on certain projects, at least from what I've heard. I put myself on tape for a couple things that are supposed to shoot in August. And I don't know how that's going to work. It's a little scary, I got to be honest with you. The idea of getting on a plane and flying somewhere to shoot, there's a lot of risk involved. So, once we get back to the normal times, I think we're all going to be just over the moon, just to have normal contact again and not have to worry about everything. But, shooting while the pandemic is still going on is going to be very interesting.
Yes, I would say. I think I heard that the Falcon and Winter Soldier show for Disney Plus is supposed to resume filming very early in the Czech Republic. But I had asked actress Natalie Sharp, who played Millie Rollins on The Flash in season 6, kind of a similar question. And she also said that it's, you have to be safe when it comes to all of this. So I feel for actors, because everything's about social distancing, and literally with acting, you have to be really up close and personal with people.
Yeah, they're going to have to figure out, writing-wise, how to write scenes where it doesn't involve a lot of close contact, and I think kissing is going to be completely out, maybe even handshaking. Who knows? I mean, it's going to be very interesting, but, some of the best art happens under extreme limitations, and some of the best creativity happens under limitations. So I think it's certainly possible. It's just they're going to have to get creative with it.
Absolutely. So going back to your love of comic books and superheroes and all that, if you could pick your ideal comic book character to play, who would you say that you would just absolutely love to step in their shoes?
I mean, I've always wanted to play Batman, but I got to say, well, I'm not British, so maybe I'll never play Batman. But
that is true.
that seems to be the benchmark for playing Batman, aside from Ben Affleck, of course. But yeah, it's this is going to be corny, but I love Sportsmaster. I love this character. I love what he can do. I love his alter ego. It's just something I really resonate with. I have so much fun playing in that. And I've said this while we were filming. I like if you could play anyone in this show, Stargirl, who would you have picked? And I would pick Sportsmaster, hands down, because it's just some characters really just click with you and they really resonate with you. And this is one of those guys. And I think, again, getting to originate a character in a live action, setting is so cool, because then you become the standard Sportsmaster, and you don't have to live up to Joaquin Phoenix having to live up to, or being constantly aware of Heath Ledger's brilliant take on the Joker. Like, you don't have that pressure on you, your character is your character. So getting to play someone that's new is like incredible, because you don't have all that, you don't have all those eyes on you of like what you're going to do. And, I don't like that compared to this and all that. There's no one really to compare Sportsmaster to that's not a cartoon,
That is very true. That's a incredibly great point, because it seems like, and not only the actor has to feel that, but the public reception is always going to do their share of comparing. So you are literally, like, if there is someone who ends up playing Sportsmaster in a movie or something else, it's always going to be back to you and how Neil Hopkins played the character.
Yeah, and that's really cool, as long as someone doesn't do a way better Sportsmaster.
I think that you're doing an amazing job, and I love that you're so passionate about it, because that certainly resonates off screen, so that's amazing. I have to ask, just kind of one last question, so you're on Stargirl, which already is becoming such a large and popular show, but you were also on another large and popular show with Lost, and I'm sure that there are so many differences, but how was what would you say is the difference in getting into the mindsets of these two different characters?
Well, they're completely, obviously, very different characters. And you just take each character as it comes, and each character presents its own set of challenges and its own set of opportunities, and so I can't really compare the two characters at all. They're very different, but in terms of being a part of like a show that is a really big show, it's I like being part of Stargirl, because my role is bigger and I have more to do in the show, and I'm on the poster, how can you complain when you're on the poster, but, Lost was such a huge production, a huge cast, and so many ins and outs, and you never knew if you were coming back. If you were a recurring character like I was, you never knew. You hoped you'd come back, but you never knew. And then you never knew what they would write for you when you got back. You didn't know if you'd have more to do or less to do than you did last time. And, you're just kind of along for the ride. And in the case of Lost, it went on for 6 years, and I was grateful to be a part of it. It was a great character and great fun to play with Don Monahan. And, but, it's cool to be in on the ground floor of a show like Stargirl, and to get to play a character that actually has like a history,
Absolutely. And I'm going to sit here with my fingers crossed that we get a second season, and I look forward to seeing what the rest of season 1 has to offer us. Neil, I know that you said that you had some stuff lined up for August, not sure what's going to happen with that, but besides that, is there something that the listeners who are listening, what do we have to look forward to, say, besides Stargirl?
Well, I mean, things have been dead for, since March. So there were a couple projects I was hopeful about that ended up falling through, and it's just been a total shutdown. So things have just really been on pause. I'm just hoping that things can get back to normal soon, so I have my next thing lined up. But right now, I was talking to the people in the cast, and we're all just kind of itching to get back out there. But it's really hard when the business is shut down. So hopefully it's something soon, and hopefully it's something very cool, and hopefully we get to do more Stargirl.
Yes, absolutely. I hope so. And again, Neil, thank you so much for even taking the time to speak with me tonight. It is a fantastic series. You are amazing as Sportsmaster, and it's great to speak with someone who is also a comic book nerd.
Thank you. It was a pleasure talking to you. I'm glad you liked the show.
Awesome. Thank you so much again, Neil, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
My pleasure. You too. Take care of yourself.